Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Schmidt here, reporting from my porch. Hope you're doing well. A lot of you have reached the culminating assignment, so good for you. As you know, they're both worth 35 marks, so overall, if you add that together, it's about 70 out of 220 or 230 marks, which is approximately 30% of your course. And I've had quite a few questions about them, so, let me just say overall, part of this course, this online course, has been an attempt to introduce or demand of you kind of an exploration of some of the potential that the world of the web allows you, whether that be a Web 2.0 tool or searching for various sources. And a lot of you have embraced those. Oftentimes, some of you have not really explored as much as I might have liked you to. You probably, for something like the timeline, one of the comments I noticed I put down an awful lot was, you don't really exploit the online dimension of this. This timeline could easily appear in the same form in a textbook, which basically means you're not really using all the components. And remember, if you're doing a history project on the 1920s, you can easily access music from the 1920s. You can easily access movie clips. You can get a plethora of statistics. There's so much information out there about these time periods. And also remember, if you go to a museum in this day and age, if you go to the War Museum in Ottawa, if you go to the ROM in downtown Toronto, everything is interactive. This is not like the day and age of history kind of being presented as static. It's a dynamic kind of world out there. Anyways, the point is that when you're doing these last two assignments, think about how you're maximizing that. I know many of you are very good at paper and pencil kind of skills, and to be honest, I would be in that same boat of student who kind of prefers the the straightforward kind of think through an assignment, write it out, give me a 5-paragraph essay or a paragraph, and I will do a good job on it. And that's great. I'm happy. And a lot of what you're going to be doing for this culminating activity is still using those critical thinking skills and using your ability to create arguments and to form ideas logically. There's an added component in that you're also supposed to use these online tools. So let me just go through the assignment one by one, and we'll take a look at the rubric for at least one of them as well. So, complete the following assignment. Is the year 2014? Yes, it is. You have been given the task of designing a survey that measures the Canadianness of our citizens. So you start off with a very ambiguous term, Canadianness, right? So this is a question about Canadian identity. So your first job is to actually define Canadian and create a success criteria for it. What does that mean? Does that mean you have to create a rubric? No, it doesn't really mean you have to create a rubric. I associate success criteria and rubrics because I'm marking your stuff. So I often talk about success criteria in reference to rubrics. But a success criteria can just be a checklist of ideas that fit the mold. So if you are a true Canadian, what makes you a true Canadian? What kind of knowledge makes you a true Canadian? What do you need to identify with? So, I would try to think about this assignment in terms of both the historical content, current events, and then think about it in terms of a broader perspective. Okay? So, there's things that you need to know to be a Canadian. What would you include about that? What are the most important things historically that define us? Okay? And so you're going to kind of take a look at that. If you look at the types of categories you can explore, are there certain things when it comes to entertainment that you should know about, that you should identify with? Are there certain things about the landscape that you should identify with? Are there certain moments in sports that are super important? So you can kind of put a personal spin on this, and it's a pretty wide open idea. But your job here to create a success criteria is a big deal. It's basically you defining what Canadian is, okay? And then you're supposed to create a 35-mark survey 35 mark meaning, you know, you have 35 questions or so, right? And I mean, I wouldn't look at it at 35 and think randomly like, okay, I'm going to start with one about this, and then you go another one about something totally random, and then I'm going to add a third one. Think about it in terms of creating subcategories. So maybe you have 5 questions about 7 different categories, or 7 questions about 5 different categories, or however you want to break it up. Just think about it so that you can manage it and digest it. And then the other part of that is use the Google form itself. There's all these different types of questions and ways of using it. And so do it so it's appropriate and it's fun to fill out, and you know, it doesn't just seem like a history quiz. That's not your goal. Your goal is to kind of like, you know, if you think about it, think about all the silly surveys that are out there. You know, how Canadian are you is basically one of those surveys that you are designing. So it's supposed to be entertaining, but there's also supposed to be historical content. And I think the rubric, if you take a look at it, and we'll take a look at it right here, reflects that pretty well. So demonstrates thorough knowledge of how Canada's participating in international events, institutions, and agreements has contributed to Canada's evolving identity. So there's a historical component. Okay, use planning skills in selecting and gathering information on Canadian history and current events. Key word here, current events. Not just like the content, but things that are happening that affect you today in the last 10 years of your you know, your existence on this earth matter as well. And you can use all sorts of things from that time period. Okay. Complete research projects that reflect the elements of history inquiry with a high degree of effectiveness. That just means that you're making decisions and including things that are important. And use Google Form effectively, imaginatively, and include a wide variety of survey questions. So if every question is a true or false question, you probably won't do well on that. Whereas if you fully maximize the different questions and explore the Google Form, because remember, you're going to be able to use this form hopefully afterwards for a range of things that you do in your personal life and in your professional life. You know, more and more organizations kind of design these and send them out all the time. In fact, I had to answer 2 today about you guys actually, and who had committed to the August 15th date. The TCDSB people who are in charge of this course sent me a Google form. Okay, so I think that's pretty clear. If you have problems with what I just said, or you need clarification, let me know. So let's just like take another quick at the other one. Again, same type of idea. It's almost a traditional project. It's almost a traditional essay, but it's not quite an essay. Complete the following. Imagine you were blogging online before the July 1st Canada Day celebration. Your entry is titled Pride and Prejudice, Canada's International Legacy. Capital. Your goal is to discuss the significance of 3 defining moments in Canada's 20th century that make you proud, as well as 3 that make you ashamed to be Canadian. The format can be essay-like, but remember, you are trying to get viewers online. So again, this is not a formal essay where you need to have like this thesis statement that really brings everything together and you're judging history. Your judgment is your ability to choose 3 meaningful sorry, I'm distracted by a guy who's talking really loudly. 3 meaningful moments that Canada should be proud of, and 3 where they've kind of been disgraced, or in your mind have reacted to an international situation or domestic situation in a poor way. And you have to, as usual in this course, justify why you chose those. Okay, there's a whole range of reasons why to choose different ones, but you have to come up with your own. Okay, and when you're doing that, you also have to then include all of this. So the most important part of this, you're obviously going to have a title, you're going to have a written content. That's great. Okay, visual content. If you look at the average blog, there's all sorts of ways to include things. I suggested you use the blog form TAC. You would need to sign up for it again, but you can easily embed YouTube clips in that. You can use pictures. You could also do it, if you look up here, you could also use the blog feature in D2L itself. Now, I would suggest, since you're probably never going to start a blog using D2L, Although you might, you go out and find another platform, and this is a really simple one in terms of making things look nice and in terms of linking things. So again, your choice, but you know, the importance here is looking online at some blogs and seeing some creative ways of embedding these things. Okay, below here is included, standard paragraph stuff. You don't have to really use that. Okay, you can use it. You still should write paragraphs that make sense. Your information shouldn't be all over the place. You should have a thematic way of bringing everything together in terms of your 3 defining moments and the moments that make you the most ashamed. But obviously the type of question that this is not asking you to make like one historical judgment where your thesis has to be really really efficiently written and really precise and kind of lay out your argument. Okay, so I don't think either of these are particularly difficult assignments, but they do take some work and they take some research, and you should cite them everything as usual. So I hope that helps you out. You can find the blog or the rubric for this as well. If you want to clarify it, you guys who are working on it right now, feel free to send it to me early if you want me to look it over. If you're really worried about it, I know it's worth a lot, but generally speaking, think about it. If you're the most effort you put into something is for 10 marks, and this is worth 35, then you should probably be putting a lot of effort into it. Yes. That's how I would say. I would give myself 2.5, days of work, for each of these, if possible. But maybe you don't need that much time. I don't know. I mean, again, the level of work that I've been receiving for a lot of people is quite high. I've been quite happy with it. So just do your best and send me your questions. Good luck, everybody.